No one wakes up and decides to become the villain. It starts smaller than that. A half-truth, a strategic silence, a story told slightly differently to avoid consequences, and each time, it feels justified. It doesn't start with a lie you tell someone else. It begins in your own head. The voice that says, "I'm just protecting them." The little edit you make to a text before hitting send. You delete a detail, soften the truth, leave out the part that might spark an argument. It feels harmless, necessary even. You tell yourself, "It would hurt them if I told the full truth." Or, "I didn't technically lie." That's how it grows. Quiet, invisible. No one calls you out. You don't even call yourself out. You feel relief. You feel smart. You feel safe. Almost half of us admit to doing this, giving a half-truth instead of a real answer. Not to strangers, but to people we love. The reason always sounds noble. "I'm making things easier. I'm keeping the peace." Anyone would do the same. But something shifts. That first omission becomes a permission slip. You start believing you're still honest, still good. After all, you didn't say anything that wasn't true. You just left out the part that might make you look bad. This is how it begins. Not with a nose that grows, but with a story you edit for yourself. The more you do it, the easier it gets. The less it feels like a choice, and the more it feels like a right. Each time you rewrite reality, you drift further from who you think you are. You don't notice the distance. Not yet. Sam picks up Taylor's phone from the couch. Just a quick swipe, barely a pause. The lock screen lights up, and for a moment, Sam's thumb hovers. There's no fight, no accusation, just a silent glance at the notifications. A name, a message, a flicker of doubt. Sam tells himself it's not snooping. It's protection. It's love. "I just want to make sure nothing's wrong." This is how it starts. Not with a confrontation, but with a story you whisper to yourself. "I'm only checking because I care." You don't feel guilty. You feel responsible. You feel like a good partner. After all, what's the harm in looking just this once? You don't ask permission. You don't admit it. If caught, you'd say, "I was just worried about you." Or, "I thought I heard your phone go off." Sam puts the phone back exactly where it was. Taylor never notices. The secret feels safe, almost righteous. But the line just moved. What used to feel off limits now feels necessary. Third of people in relationships have checked a partner's phone without telling them. Most say it's to protect the relationship, to guard against a threat, to make sure nothing's wrong. It never feels like a violation, at least, not at first. Later, when affection is withheld, or a cold shoulder follows a suspicious message, the story changes again. If they have nothing to hide, they won't mind. You start with a peek. You end up with leverage. That's how the trap closes, quietly, with a good reason. You can do something wrong and still feel like the good guy. That's the trick your mind pulls. The story you tell yourself isn't about what you did. It's about why you did it. They pushed me. That's the mantra. Not "I wanted to hurt them." Not "I chose this." Just, "They pushed me." It sounds so reasonable, so familiar. You replay the argument in your head. You remember every sharp word they said, every time they didn't listen, every little moment that made you feel small. Suddenly, your own actions don't feel like a choice at all. They feel like a reaction. You're not the villain. You're the one who was cornered. Therapists hear it all the time. Nearly 8 out of 10 people sitting across the room reach for some version of it. "I wouldn't have checked their phone if they hadn't acted so distant." I only snapped because they wouldn't stop. Anyone in my shoes would have done the same. It's a shield. It keeps the guilt out and the self-image clean. You can lie, manipulate, twist the story, and still look in the mirror and see a good person staring back. The blame shifts quietly from you to them. The line between defense and attack blurs. You don't feel the sting of guilt. You feel justified. You feel safe. You feel right. But the mask gets heavier every time you put it on. And the more you wear it, the less you notice it's there. You don't flinch the first time. Not really. There's a tiny pulse, maybe a twist in your stomach, a flicker of guilt. But it fades. The next time, it's quieter. Your body learns. The sting that should follow a lie, or a secret, or a silent accusation, dulls. You tell yourself, it's not a big deal. I'm just being careful. Anyone would do the same. Inside, something else is happening. The part of you that's supposed to light up when you hurt someone, the warning system that says, this isn't right, it dims. Scientists call it the amygdala. It's the brain's alarm bell for empathy and guilt. Studies suggest that with each repeated lie, that alarm grows softer. After enough practice, it can drop by nearly a third. 30% less signal, 30% less discomfort. You don't feel the heat. You don't even notice the change. Sam doesn't feel sick when he checks Taylor's phone. He doesn't feel much at all. The guilt that would have made him stop, gone. It's the same for anyone who's crossed that line again and again. The more you do it, the less you feel. The less you feel, the easier it gets. Your body is teaching you to ignore the sting. Not because you're evil, because you're getting used to it. And once numbness sets in, you're ready for the next step, looking for someone else to tell you it's okay. Now the crowd gets involved. Not a stadium, just a bar, a group chat, a handful of friends. Jordan leans against the counter, telling a story that isn't quite true. Not a big lie, just a detail swapped, a motive tweaked. Sam laughs. Someone else claps him on the back. You had to do it, they say. Smart move. The room fills with nods and grins. No one asks if it was honest. No one cares if it was fair. The only thing that matters is that Jordan got away with it. Suddenly, what felt risky is met with applause. Every approving look, every joke, every "I would have done the same" takes the sting out of the last lie. You start to feel clever. You start to feel bold. The story you told yourself, "I am just protecting myself," gets echoed by the people around you. It feels good. It feels safe. It feels normal. Peer approval works like gasoline on a slow fire. Studies show most people, when cheered on by friends, go further than they ever planned. 2/3 of us will push the line if the group says it is fine. The shame fades. The guilt shrinks. The little voice that used to whisper, "This isn't you," gets drowned out by laughter and raised glasses. It is not just your conscience anymore. It is the crowd's. And when everyone is clapping, who wants to be the one who stops the show? That is how Pleasure Island works. It is not a place. It is a feeling. The moment the group rewards you for bending the truth, you start to believe you are not the only one. You start to believe you are right. Strings tighten when you realize you're not just reacting, you're orchestrating. You pull a thread here, push a piece there. Maybe you withhold a fact, dangle a compliment, drop a hint to steer Taylor's mood. It feels like you're playing chess, not war. Each move is gentle, almost invisible. You're not lying, you're just guiding. You're not controlling, you're just keeping things on track. But every choice is a calculation. You start to anticipate, to plan. If you say this, Taylor will do that. If you act cold, maybe they'll chase you. If you share just enough, you keep the upper hand. It's not about safety anymore. It's about control. The Pinocchio Effect isn't a fairy tale. It's the part of you that learns to pull strings before you even notice your hands are moving. There's a way out, but it's not comfortable. It starts with catching yourself at the first edit, the first omission, the first silent move that feels a little too clever. Therapists call it a truth check. Pause. Name what you did. Ask yourself, was that honest? Or just easy? Studies suggest that when people confront the first lie, out loud, without excuses, the pattern breaks more than half the time. Not perfectly, not forever, but enough to matter. Enough to cut the risk of sliding into full-blown manipulation by 60% or more. That's not a magic fix. It's a start. So here's the checklist. Stop the story before it rewrites itself. Say the thing you're tempted to hide. Admit the motive you'd rather dress up as love. The earlier you catch it, the less power it has. The Pinocchio Effect only wins when you let the first lie slide by, unchallenged. Once you see the strings, you can choose to let go. You tell yourself, I'm just protecting them, or it would hurt them if I told the full truth. That's how it starts. Quiet, harmless, easy to justify. But every rationalization carves something out of you. The question isn't if you've lied, it's this: what has it slowly turned you into?